Good evening. This is the vlog for June 22nd, and today was just completely non-eventful. Um, I really like this is a day where I wish something had happened. I wish anything at all, anything interesting had happened. But Gundam Breaker, new Gundam Breaker did not arrive. Although I did get a notice that it will be coming in tomorrow, so I don't have to wait all the way to Monday. However, my good buddy Gatlin, who might end up watching one of these, uh, got the game. It was waiting for him when he got home from work today, and he played it for about 5 hours, and he said he doesn't like it. Now, here's the trick. Gatlin is the man of silver linings. He will find the bright side of a situation if it exists. He's a very positive fellow, and his enthusiasm is great. I've worked with him, and he's good at his job, so that basically covers everything you could hope for in a guy. But he's also tempered. He has a sense of how the world is. Sometimes he ignores the nastier elements and just focuses on the positive. But when something problematic or an inconvenient truth is put in front of him, he's usually quite accepting of it, and that's the case here. He thinks the game plays very differently from what he was used to, and he just wasn't having very much fun, and it was in fact very choppy with a lot of lag and a lot of frame rate drops. So I guess I'll find out for myself tomorrow. He pointed out that the old Gundam Breaker is still around, and it's still good, but I have played that one to death. And given that I spend most of my time in that game not even actually like fighting robots, but actually making my Gunpla and painting them and coming up with fun color schemes, which is something I was thinking about today. I've got a bunch of color schemes in Warframe that I like to use for a variety of different things, and I'm probably going to end up using a bunch of them in Gundam as well. But we'll see. I went back and watched yesterday's vlog. I don't usually watch the vlogs, but I wanted to remember because I talked about everything. I went for like 16 minutes practically yesterday, and definitely don't have any intent to do that tonight. Like I said, nothing interesting happened today, so why would I go and just for 15 minutes unless I remember something? I talked about some of the mysteries of my life yesterday. This is an interesting area to live in. The area I live in is pretty well off. I'm actually still quite close to my high school, which had a lot of kids whose parents had made a lot of money, and that gave these kids a significant sense of entitlement. Now, I came from a pretty well-off family, but the weird thing is, when we lived in Minnesota, being the son of a pilot meant that you were one of the rich kids. We had money, and we could get all sorts of things, and we lived very comfortably. And because my dad was a pilot, one of the big things we did was we vacationed all the time. We would go on 3 or 4 trips a year. Now, at least 2 of those were down to my grandparents' house for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But we'd usually do a fun summer vacation, usually just driving down to Lake Okoboji, which was only about 4 hours. We'd spend a weekend down there, sometimes a whole 5 days. But in the spring, we would often go to California. We went to Disney World one year. I could take up an entire episode talking about my Disney World trip. Actually, both of my Disney World trips. So I'll have to go back and see if I've actually talked about it before. I really need to start writing down notes of the things I've talked about, so I'm not repeating myself. Although, that's what a vlog is. I will say this, when I write something down, I tend to remember if I wrote it a lot better than if I've just said it out loud, even to a recording. Isn't that weird? I guess it's because you are seeing your thoughts on paper or on a screen, as they're being recorded, you're sort of, as you're writing the next part, you're seeing what you've already written. Whereas with this, I'm basically looking in a mirror right now. I'm seeing myself live, but as soon as I've said something, it's gone. To it, I can't actually remember how I got to talking about the vacations. Vacations I was talking about. Going on vacations. We went to California, Disney World. Went to Hawaii, the island of Kauai, which is beautiful. They call it the Garden Island. Very, very apt name. It is a island of beautiful nature and splendor and spectacle. The last time I went to Hawaii by myself, I stayed on Oahu, right down on Waikiki Beach. I think I've mentioned that. And that's very touristy, but that was sort of what I wanted. I wanted something where I could relax and just sort of see very, I don't know, commercial sites, without having. And I did a couple little adventures, went on some hikes to some very interesting places, but yeah. If I go again, maybe I'll go to Maui this time. That's sort of the I think it's a big island for surfing, so the surf crowd loves to go out there. But now that my dad is retired, we don't vacation nearly as much anymore, and especially since I have to pay for my own tickets now, I don't take a lot of vacations. But this was all I was talking about, how we were rich, or relatively rich. The relativism of being wealthy is important. If you have more money than other people around you, people will see you as a wealthy person and have expectations of it. You could have more money by a very, very small fraction. You could be, lower middle class in an area that is usually low class, and the low class, people, I shouldn't refer to them as that way. But people will, sort of resent it and expect things from you. Expect you to be the one that hosts parties, or you're the guy that drives everywhere, because drives people everywhere because you have the nice car. I've been that person, by the way. I've been the hoopty mobile, driving people around in. I had a BMW back when I was in college. I have a Subaru now. It's not quite as splendorous. But yeah, we were well off in Minnesota, and I had a sense of that. But when we moved here, surrounded by Microsoft millionaires, it was a humbling experience. Suddenly, I was definitely not. And we had money, but my parents did not spoil me. They gave me a very, very strict allowance when I was a kid. Barely allowed me to afford anything, and so I learned the value of that money. And at the same time, I sort of got this mentality of, if you've got money, spend it. I do save money now. I save for trips to Hawaii and stuff. But yeah, I'm very apt to impulse buys. But yeah, I just surrounded by so many people who had so much. I knew guys that would drive to school in the newest Corvette. I knew people that just knew, as soon as they turned 16, they'd have their own car, oftentimes a new car, although plenty of people were just getting used cars. Plenty of parents realized there was no point in getting a brand new spanking car for somebody that was going to ding it up within 2 months of owning it. And yeah, there was just a sense of these kids thinking that they could get away with anything. They were invincible, something I also thought until I got hit by a car when I was 13. And I don't remember why I started talking about this. Places I've lived. Well, it's almost 10 minutes again. Okay, well, I haven't got too much else. Well, I haven't got anything else to talk about tonight. I'll think of something interesting for tomorrow. Till then, I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.